Chef Ch-Ch-Chayla with My Make Studio, and today, you guys, we are going to be doing the garden cake kit. Yes. So, if the sticker right here on your box does not say garden cake, you're probably looking for another video. No worries, just go ahead and head back to our YouTube channel and find the video that's titled the same as whatever sticker is right here on your box. If it is the garden cake kit, welcome. We're gonna have fun playing with fake dirt today. It's all gonna be edible. No real dirt on our cakes today. But there are a couple of things we need to go over before we actually get started. So, the first thing we need to go over today is we want our cakes baked before we decorate them, and we want them at least room temperature. We're not going to do any crazy carving or anything with this cake, so room temperature should be fine. However, I do think cakes are easier to decorate when they're colder, so if you want to pop it in the fridge or the freezer for a little bit, it's not going to hurt it. But you will need your cake baked first, and inside your box is a box of cake mix, and on the back are directions, so you can just follow those along to mix up your cake and all that jazz. And then if you're like, but Jella, I don't have a square pan. Don't worry, I got you. So inside your box, you have a pan. So I personally like to decorate my garden cake inside the pan, but if that's not your style and you're like, no, I don't want to do that, I always recommend like greasing these anyway, whatever way you like to grease your pans. Totally up to you. You're the one eating it. Live your life how you want. But I always recommend greasing them anyway. But if you're like, I don't have anything to grease them, totally fine. You can totally decorate your cake inside this. But other than that, everything else is inside the box, which is awesome. But some things that are not inside your box that you will need are a handy dandy pair of scissors. This is just to cut some candy bags open and whatnot, and we can even use it for some shaping today. And just some kind of towel. It can be a paper towel, a hand towel, a kitchen towel, just something to keep our open icings on and to wipe our frosting fingers on to try and keep our workspace more clean. So, scissors, towel, bake your cakes at least room temperature before you get started decorating. And then lastly, go ahead and wash your hands super duper good and all that jazz. And once you've done that, come on back and we'll get started. So I'm gonna get set up here and we are going to make a beautiful garden cake. And we're back. Cake. I went with chocolate today. Plus, I like doing chocolate cake for this one because it's just extra dirt that we have. So, first thing for this is going to be putting down some brown icing to be a glue for all of our other things. So for this one, since I don't plan on piping with it, I'm just going to take the top off and remove the seal. Boop. Then, all over my cake, you can either make stripes or zigzags or one massive smiley face or swoopy doops or swirly doos. I'm just going to do some bloops and blops. So, boop, blip, boop, blip. All over my cake. And I'm not worried about them being even, especially since I have chocolate today. And then when your icing gets kind of hard to squeeze out, go ahead and fold the top down. Treat it like it's toothpaste. It'll help create more pressure to like push it down so it'll come out easier for you. Alright, I didn't use all my icing. I used about half of it. I'm going to see where this gets me and then go from there. But inside your box, you've also got a spatula. What color did you get? We have different colors floating around. I would love to know. I want to know. I want to know. See, this is also why we have handy dandy scissors. Look at this. Boop. Magic. What a champion. Alright. So when I smooth things out, I like to go side to side, but instead of it being like a windshield wiper blade, it's more like the beginning of a pirate ship ride. So I rock a little bit this way, and then I'll rock a little bit that way. Ooh, this kind of motion. However, we're not really going to see much of this. This is just glue. So if that doesn't feel good to you, which is totally fine, everybody's brains work differently. You can also treat your cake like it's a very nervous cat. Like you've been trying to get its attention all day. It's finally jumped in your lap. You gotta pet it, but you don't want to scare it off. You can lightly pet your icing in the direction you want it to go to. Just very light pressure. So I'm gonna do a couple swoops and then probably come in with some pets. All right, and if your cake is starting to get kind of crumbly like mine, just means you need a little bit more icing on there. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this out. And then where I can see those gaps, I'm going to take my chocolate and I'm just going to put some more blocks down there. I'm going to put some on the edge over here and the edge here. Yes! Smooth it out. And it does not have to be 100% smooth and like the prettiest cake ever, because again, this is just the glue part. We're going to be covering almost all of this up. This is just so everything else sticks to it. So it's more of getting icing all over the surface area versus getting icing to be perfectly smooth and pristine and covered all over the cake. Like, you can have some streakage going on. It's totally fine. It does not have to be perfectly smooth. We just want to try and get icing all over the top of the cake. No, I'll save it. I'm going to save it. It's testing you. I'm saving it. So, now, I personally like to figure out where I want to put my vegetables first before I go in and add my grass and my dirt. And you can totally customize this however you like. Like, you could make an all tomato garden, or you could have it be sporadic and wild. You don't have to do these nice little even rows like I'm going to do. There are tons of ways that you can customize this cake to feel more like the perfect garden for you if you're not really sold on the design. And that is totally okay. Because in my world, cakes and cupcakes are just art that you can eat, and art is unique just like you are, so feel free to put your own spin on it. Go for it, like, feel free. But I'm going to show you how to do some rows, and also if you're like, no, I want to follow you along, there's nothing wrong with that either. It is your cake, you guys. I want you to be happy with it. But I'm going to go ahead and go to this bag, and I'm going to take out my pumpkins. Candy pumpkins. And I'm just going to make nice little rows today. So I think I want my pumpkins to go this way. So I'm just sticking them into the icing. And then I personally want to leave a space. And put them on like this. And I can actually scoot these a little closer together so I can fit all of my pumpkins in one nice little pretty row. It's already cute. Okay. So then, since we have orange fondant, if you look in the little bag of fun, I don't want orange next to orange. That's just me personally. I want the colors to kind of like pop a bit more. So I'm going to put my carrots here and my tomatoes in the middle. So I'm actually going to start by making my carrots. So I personally don't want my carrots next to my pumpkins because I'm a big fan of the color pop. So I'm going to put my tomatoes in the center and my carrots over here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and make my carrots now. So for the carrots, we're going to be using fondant. And if you've never played with fondant before, fondant is basically like Play-Doh you can eat, which is super awesome. It's super awesome. But I do want to let you know, if you have a little bit of chocolate icing on your hands when you go to play with your fondant, it will stain your fondant. However, I actually think that works for this cake because then it makes your carrots look more natural and like they have been in the dirt. But if you don't want that vibe and look to your cake, go ahead and wash your hands if you have any chocolate icing on them. Super duper good. And then make sure they're dry before you come to play with your fondant. If you play with fondant with wet fingers and wet hands, it's not going to hurt it, but water makes fondant sticky, so it's going to stick to you and create these weird little like tendrilies, and it's just a really weird like feeling to deal with. So I recommend that your hands are dry before you play with your fondant. But if you do get a little chocolate icing on your carrots, I actually think it really works for this cake. Now I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I love fondant. And I cut the top off. Boop, and then I just slide down here. So just because I'm doing carrots and tomatoes for my garden, if you want to look up other red things you could put in your garden, like fruits or vegetables to go in there, or any other orange, like maybe you want to make a giant pumpkin, you totally can, but I'm going to show you how to make carrots. So I'm going to I personally like little carrots. So I'm going to rip some off. And I'll just make a couple. However, if you want to make bigger carrots than what I'm making, just rip off bigger chunks than I am. We'll have one giant carrot. All right, And that's about half my fondant. And I'm going to see how I feel about this before I roll anymore. But each one of these, I'm going to roll into a ball. All right, so again, this comes down to, there are different ways to do things because everybody's brain works different. So I will show you 2 different ways that you make your carrots. Number 1 is you got your ball, take your pincher fingers and pinch it, then turn it and pinch your pinch, and do that again. And just keep doing that, and then come to the end and give it a little pinch. Making a cone shape. Now, if you have long fingernails or if that just didn't feel good, another way you can do it is treat it like a tube snake. I will say this is much easier to do on a table than in your hand like I'm about to do, but I want you to be able to see it the best. So if you put it there, take your finger and only tube snake one end of it. And that's how you make carrots. So I'm going to go ahead and make all my carrot shapes, and then I'm going to show you an extra mile step that you can do before I actually put them on the cake. So I'll be back. Perfect. Magic! Alrighty, so you can just stick them on. There's actually a couple different ways we can put them on, which I will show you that too. But if you take your scissors, or if you have a toothpick at home, you could also use that. But let me get nice and close here. You can use this as an indentation tool to make those lines that are on carrots. So I just press and roll so it goes all the way around. And I only add a couple of those. And depending on how you're laying your carrots, like if you're gonna lay them like this in your cake, you don't really need to worry about this underside. But if you're gonna stick them in like this, you wanna make sure you go all the way around. But again, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. It's just an extra mile step, but it's something that I personally like to do. So I am going to go ahead and do it to all of my carrots, and then we will go over how to put them on the cake. Perfect. So, you can, here, you know what? Let's do this here. So pretend this is the cake. You can lay your carrots in a nice little row like this, or you can stick some of them up, which is what I personally like to do. I like to have my carrots going different directions. That's just what I like. If you want them all uniform, make them all uniform. But I'm gonna have them a little sporadic, because this is a Ch-Chayla garden cake, and a Ch-Chayla garden cake would not be perfectly orderly. So I'm going to stick this one in like this. Yes. Here, I'll turn it this way so easy. And then this is the big one, so he's gonna lay like this. And then I think I will have this one in, this one out, and then I'll have a little tiny baby carrot and another one like this. I like how I said I didn't want them orderly, but I still made a pattern. It was just a pattern of 2 different ways of putting them on. But that is a very me thing to do. So I like this. And I could fit another carrot on there, but then it messes up my pattern. So I'm going to leave it like this. And then you can actually wrap your fondant up and put it in the freezer, save it for something else if you'd like. Or you can make like a little scarecrow person. You can get creative with it. You could even make a dinosaur that's in your garden. Like it's a garden that is a dinosaur's. You can do whatever you want with it. But I'm going to leave it like this. And then I'm actually going to come to my red icing. And I'm going to show you some tomatoes. So, for me personally, for tomatoes, I'm going to take this off, and then I don't use a tip for this one either, but if you would like, I recommend the open star. If you're not sure which that one is, there is a little booklet inside your box that has a page of the tips, but it's the one that is a circle with the spikies. We'll get to tips here in a second, but you know what? I'll show you. I brought it up. I'll show it to you. But I'm going to do this part without a tip, but you are more than welcome to use an icing tip if you'd like, and I would recommend that you use the open star, which is this one. Circle, spiky, circle, spiky. So, but I'm just going to do little blips. And another reason we have not put our dirt on yet is, especially for this, if you're doing little drops, it would just be sticking to our dirt and lifting up and not sticking to our cake. So that's another reason that I like to add the dirt later on. So I'm just going to make a blob. And when I do that, I'm coming to my cake and I'm not quite touching my cake, but I'm almost touching it. It's like you're really trying to irritate somebody, like, I'm not touching you, but you're like really in their space. And then I'm gonna squeeze in the same spot. 1, 2, stop and lift. Don't worry about these little points. We'll go over those in a second. I'm gonna have some big tomatoes. Yes. So, those little points I said we go over in a minute. If you let your icing sit for like a minute or two, it will have stiffened up more from being in the air that you can lightly tap it and it will go away. But if we try and do it right now, it's still a little too wet. So I'm just gonna let this sit for just a little bit while I start doing my other parts, and then I will come back to them. So it's grass time, it's grass time. So this time there's a different step. I'm gonna take this off, and then there is this little white ring inside, or a little white circle. I'm gonna pop that out, and this is actually the coupler ring that attaches your tips to the icing. Like, I think that is so cool that it comes with it. But I'm gonna remove the seal, and the tip that I want is the one that has a bunch of little holes in it. It kind of looks like a thimble. This is the grass tip. It's great for grass, but also these tips are yours to keep. So if you ever have yellow icing, you can make a spaghetti cupcake. Or if you put it on some other cupcake, like some other cupcakes, you could put it on other cupcakes, but if you put it on some other colors, you can also make Monster Fur, which we also do have a food cupcake kit, and a Monster Squad cake kit, and a Monster cake. If this is your first time decorating with me, this is my favorite tip of all time. I love the grass tip. It's the best. It makes the coolest stuff. But, so put it on, got carried away. And then take your little ring and twist it on over it. Now, sometimes the tips want to play tag with you. They're like, no, you can't catch me. No. They will go on there. You might just need to like move them around a little bit and apply a little pressure to put it on. But they will go on there like so. And you need to be able to do this. It doesn't need to be on there so tight you can't take it off, but you need to be able to do this and then not go flying across the room. So you have some options for grass. So I'm actually going to use my paper towel to show them to you. It's another, you're not quite touching your cake, but almost. So you can squeeze in the same spot. 1, 2, 3, stop and lift. And a lot of people with this one have the tendency to dip down before they lift up, and that's what happens. So it's really important to stop and lift straight up. Think straight up, try not to dip down. Another one you can do if you want more floppy grass is you can keep squeezing while you lift up to get some wild floppy grass. Or you can treat it like spaghetti and go like this, like the HOA is like, what is going on? And have wild, crazy grass all over the place. Totally up to you, whichever one feels more your speed. I'm probably going to go a mix of really pretty grass and then have some floppy grass sections. But I'm going to make a border along my cake, and then I'm going to draw little lines in between the rows. So I will start with my border, and I'll check back in with you in a second. Already checking back in for the second. See, I told you, it was a second. Second, we're all good to tap these down now. So just boop, 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 boop. And those little points are gone. All right, back to making my border. It'll be more than a second this time. Well, it might not be. Might not be, it might just be a second. Border. Ta-da! So now I'm just going to put 2 lines right here. And I don't want to use all of my green icing for this part because I do want to add a couple little details on top of my veggies. So I am going to try and save like about this much of it. But I still have more than half from that. So I think I should be right at the halfway point after I add these little rows. And this is when I'm going to make them kind of flabby. Ta-da! Yes! So I want to add a couple leaves to my carrots, and I want to add top to my tomatoes, and I want to add vines to my pumpkins. I know that was a lot that I just said, but I'm going to start with the vines for the pumpkin. So keeping my green icing, which if you wanted, if you have more of your chocolate icing, like I still have a little bit left over, you could use that for this part instead. But I am going to use the round tip. The one is just a circle. This one's really good for making polka dots, writing things, or drawing. So I'm going to use it to draw vines, and I just want to connect my pumpkins. All right, so I need to fold this down, and then I don't think there's a right or wrong way to make a vine. I'm just gonna go blah, 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 blah. Like I don't know any other way to explain that. Kind of like I am drawing a roller coaster with a pencil. How you like, ooh, ooh, ooh. That makes sense? Oh, you can make little rainbow. There we go. Words came. So I'm starting on the top of my pumpkin, and I'm making a rainbow arc to the next one. Ta-da! And you can do that on the other side too if you want, but I'm going to leave it like that. So here's another. And now I am actually going to go to my tomatoes. So now I'm going to use that open star, that circle spiky one. And I'm just going to do like a one on top of my tomatoes. So I'm not squishing into them, but I'm almost touching them. And it's another one we'll need to push the points down. So while we were doing our carrots, we can let those stiffen up. It was just like a squeeze, not even a word. This is what I did for that. And now we're going to talk about leaves. So I'm going to make a carrot to hold up to show you. So there's only one tip we haven't used yet, which is the one that looks like a V or an alligator mouth, depending on how you're looking at it. This is the leaf tip. And I want to add like like 3 or 4 leaves to my vines for my pumpkins, and then I want to put anywhere from 1 to 2 leaves on my carrots. So, got the leaf tip. Gonna move the cake because I already see my elbow going to. I'm so excited to see what garden cakes you guys make. Like, I'm really excited. Okay, back to our programming. Back to what I'm supposed to be doing. So when you're using a leaf tip, you want it to look like it's an alligator mouth, like it is about to throw up icing all over your cake or your carrots. So I'm going to squeeze in the same spot. 1, 2, 3, stop and pull back. And that's how you get a leaf. So for my sideways carrots, that's pretty easy. Let me come here. 1, 2, 3, and then I can add another one. 1, 2, 3. And then I'll probably add just 1 to the little ones. But then we come to our ones that are standing straight up. And it's a lot harder to hold it sideways for that. So you can take your alligator mouth, which again, sideways. 1, 2, 3, in the same spot, stop and pull. If you keep pulling, or if you keep squeezing while you pull, it'll just make it more floppy, which if they're laying sideways works, but for this next one won't. It's very important that you leave it in the same spot. You can take it to be straight up and down, but it's the exact same thing. Do not move this hand until the end. So 1, 2, 3, same spot, stop squeezing and lift up. If you keep lifting while you squeeze, it'll go 1, 2, 3, stop and lift. So I'm going to put some on top of my carrots, and then I'm going to add a few vines, or leaves to my vines. Yes! And I'm going to add a leaf here. And I'm actually going to add one to this pumpkin, and I'm going to add one here, and I'm going to add one to this pumpkin, and then I'm going to come back to my tomatoes and lightly tap, 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 which you can add vines and leaves to your tomatoes too, if you want, which, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a couple of vines around my tomatoes, and then we'll go over the dirt, and that's it, you guys. So I didn't want my tomato vines to look like my pumpkin vines, so I'm going making a little spiral. Yes. So then, for our dirt, the piece de resistance, we have Oreo crumbles. So I actually want these to be a bit more crumbled than they are. So I'm going to mush them up. If you have a rolling pin, you can mush them with a rolling pin too. And I did not take them out of the bag. I'm actually leaving it in the bag and mushing them, and they're doing just fine. Because I want mine more powder, like I want mine more like soily. But if you don't want to crush them up more, again, it's your cake. You don't have to if you don't want to. That's a good save. Thank you, pumpkin, for being there. And now I am going to just sprinkle this in between places randomly, and you can also squeeze it a bit more with my fingers. I really want to get these carrot sections. So I'm going just in between my carrots. Plus, I feel like it helps it look more like they're like in the dirt instead of just like on it. Doing it this way, where we're putting our dirt on last. And then I'm only going to put a little bit of my tomatoes. Yes. Oh yeah, yes, just yes. Oh, this makes me happy. And ta-da! We have dirt. We have a cute little garden. High five. I'm gonna wash my hands really fast, then I'll be back. We did it, guys. One more high five. Yes. And that's it, you guys. That is the garden cake kit. Just like, look at it. Oh, it's so cute. Like, look at it. Just look at the little baby dessert garden. It's adorable. But thank you guys so much for coming today. I hope that you had fun. And also, if you would like, because, okay, so you guys, like, we all do the same thing, but nobody's ever looks the same. There's always, like, slight little variations or something completely different. I love how creative you guys are. I think that is, like, the most exciting part about being able to do this. So if you would like to share your beautiful creations with us, you can go to our website, which is mymakestudio.com, and there is a Chef Ch-Chayla tab, and if you click on that, there'll be an option for you to become part of our Bakers Club. You'll get a certificate from me, and you can show us your beautiful pictures, which is awesome. I always love seeing what you guys do. But if you're just like, no, this is my cake, you don't have to share your pictures if you don't want to, but if you would like to become part of our Bakers Club and all that jazz and get a certificate from me, you can share your pictures on that Chef Ch-Chayla tab on the website. And speaking of which, if you need more cake in your life, we have other square ones. For instance, we have a beach one, or we have round cakes like geodes and unicorns, or even a cheeseburger. We also do cupcakes. We've got food themed ones, we've got monster themed ones. If you like this vibe, we also have succulents and tons of flower cupcakes. So if you just need a little bit more sweetness in your life, feel free to check out our website for that as well, which is mymakestudio.com. And if you would just like to follow us on socials, all of our socials are at mymakestudio. Our Facebook, at mymakestudio. Our Instagram, at mymakestudio. Our TikTok, at mymakestudio. Our Instagram and our Facebook are good places to follow for like new and upcoming things and cute kits that we have. And then our TikTok is a good place to follow because it's just like, if you want to see more of me just being kind of like, me? This? Like, how did I do this hair? There's a TikTok video on that. Or what did my dog do today? Or what random treat did I decide to make? The TikTok is more something like that. But again, all of our socials are at mymakestudio. And thank you again for realsies. I know I already said it, but thank you again so much for coming today. I really do hope that you had fun. And I hope that you enjoy eating your beautiful dessert garden cakes. And as always, everyone, stay creative.